Good evening, folks, and welcome to another session from the Wise Asylum. The weather's creeping in now, darker evenings. Autumn equinox this week. See, I work with the seasons, so you're looking to harvest all that you've achieved this year. Hence the butterflies at the beginning. Hopefully you're going to shift your cocoon, you're going to let go of the old and get ready for whatever the nonsense is on the table for this next round of Looney Tunes. Huh? You can see it, can't you? I mean, I don't watch telly, I haven't watched telly now for quite a bit, so I have no idea what's being thrust out upon you out there in La La Land. But you can certainly see wiggles and movements. Sheep are being herded. It doesn't look good, does it, for a autumn winter season already, you know, blighty. So let's wait and see. Anyway, tonight I just thought let's just approach a couple of subject matter from a different angle, because when you start to see it in these terms, you can start to realise that there actually is no sides or division at the top of the tree. None whatsoever. The divisions are entirely thrust upon the lower parts of the pyramid. So there again, it's up to us whether we play the game that they've set in the theatre called the world, or have we trained our map enough to realise the territory out there has got nothing to do, it's no semblance at all, with what you get pumped out via the television. In all its forms, celebrity, politicians, military, everybody. They're all talking out of their ass. Nobody's going to get anywhere, but it feeds the map. And of course the map is pretty much building up for some kind of madness in the next year, I have to say, because you can see now there's fire starters cooking up all over the show. I watched a video this week in London, I think it was Speaker's Corner, and yeah, I had a Muslim there screaming for the blood of the Jews. We will hunt you down, we want your blood, we will murder you. And guess who stood next to him? Oh, PC plot. I mean, what? Yeah, breach the peace. You know what I'm saying? What's that all about? If somebody's saying, encouraging others, and there's a crowd of them to hunt down Jews because they want the blood, then I think there's something gone wrong there at command level, because that's where they've told them to stand down. And so, not happy, not impressed. Then you've got some very bizarre stuff going on in Birmingham, and this time it was the black fraternity calling for blacks to no longer shop at white unkies' shops and shut them down that way. I mean, it's like, is that sedition? Certainly treason. You know what I mean? I mean, this is now being allowed to be pushed on the streets. You've got all these soldiers for the UN coming in every day, and have been for quite a long time now, readying when the fruitcakes up on the Carrot Cake Mountain think they've got it right up there in the old United Nations to launch the nut jobs at checkpoints and all the nonsense that we know has been set up. Good news is down in London, the Blade Runners and Associates are fast ripping off these ULEZ things. I mean, it's quite fitting really in that this CCTV extravaganza did actually begin here. This is where they implemented the CCTV shenanigans first. all on the back of the criminal justice bill back there in the early 90s. So the rave scene it, drugs it, criminal justice bill, and then everything went up its arse, and we had cameras everywhere, microphones everywhere. But you try getting this footage from this system that we paid for. It belongs to us, and they won't give it you because it's data protection. So we've paid for a system that we can't use, we can't benefit from, which is why nobody ever gets caught doing anything, even though everything's cameraed up to death. And if they're doing it themselves via one orifice or another, MI5, through police intelligence and whatever else is going on, then all of a sudden they switch off, they don't work. That's a strange one again, isn't it? But of course, in the law land for the map, it's acceptable that, it goes well, it's fully acceptable. So, are we starting to see the beginnings? Because once people start getting excited at this kind of stuff, and plus there's the scrap value. There's a scrap value to all this kind of monarchy. They've nicked all lead of your house, churches. Well, I believe in these big towers, there's something like £28 of platinum. There's gold in there. There's all sorts of magnificent metals in these towers that they've got going on. Of course, some of them are going to take like a JCB or an Arctic, of course, and I'm not suggesting anybody does this. Just suggesting that it could be quite dangerous if that kind of thing started to happen. You know what I mean? But people are getting excited then. They're in the old south, so I have to say, the southerners catching up to the northerners. Because, of course, the northerners have caught down to the southerners. Is the spark of rebellion starting to show itself all the way down there in London land? I don't know, but it's definitely a good sign, and there's plenty of videos there to show exactly how they're doing it. Are we plating them? No problem. We've got battery grinders now, they say. And they're up there with the battery grinder. And I noticed they're hiding the sparks in the jacket as well. These guys know what they're doing. Cars going past glowing, they can't see them. There's no sign that it's going on, and bang, on the floor it goes. So Sadiq Khan up down there in the old London. It seems to be going right well for you there, does it, Cock? I think out of this, last time I looked, you out of the 1,700 cameras, I think they've wrecked over 600, to the point they've had to bring out transit vans. And of course the old Londoners are getting excited with that, spraying them to death, wrecking them, covering them up with tarpaulins, and sitting on ladders in front of the camera with signs saying this is a new Lee's camera van. Well played, I like it, it's got to be good, it's groovy. But on that side, on the other side, again, as we said, we've got the fire starters have been launched, calling for Jewish blood, and then a black fraternity bunch in Birmingham saying don't shop at white honky businesses, let's put them out of business that way. Okay, so bizarre ink, I would suggest we've got going on at the moment as we head into the old autumn equinox and the harvest. So of course you've got the bad guys trying to harvest everything that they've done in readiness for the second horse, removing the peace from the earth, which I thought this week doesn't necessarily have to be something that goes on in Israel, although I would put it in that direction. But of course you've also got that if they started to launch these UN numpties all over the show, then peace would be gone, wouldn't it? Because lads would be getting together and taking the weapons off them, and then everybody be armed on the checkpoints and such, and then it would just get into a bit more of a upgraded war, because war is on, but it just hasn't been declared, because of course they're all pussies, and that's why they set up the United Nations in the first place, because they can all attack each other subversive, whichever, and the United Nations comes in and manages it. So there's no declaration of war, because the United Nations is administrated. I'm administrating this now. Managing it, of course, is another word for it, but a bit like they've done with our finances, really. Everything's in administration, not bankruptcy, just administration. Which is why they're sucking the lifeblood out of all the white honkies by our own system, because the corporations have took it over, of course, and that means fascism is in place, according to Mussolini, and he was an expert, by the way, as the first fascist of the 20th century. So, yep, the guy knew what he was talking about. He was specifically, and the corporations merge. Who runs corporations? Well, the unincorporated crown. He says, well, what? Well, it's just bloody naughtier and naughtier and naughtier. All I can say is naughty, naughty, naughty. And this week, somebody sent me some interesting data and made a few interesting suggestions that we know 1649, the office of monarch, or court of the monarch as it was set previously, was abolished, and nobody were allowed to support it. So that's just after Charles I of off with the Eid, if it actually happened, but for history it did, and that's all we know. But it carried on, didn't it? They carried on with these. Oh, we've got kings. We've got King Charles II, and we've got James II, and on it went into further madness. Queen of Scots, and you got Elizabeth, and all that like it. And we've discussed, haven't we, that the Pallavicini were playing Holy See through the Stanleys and funding Elizabeth to build a navy to go and rob the old Spanish galleons down there in the old wild oceans on the piracy gig, which is a legal system. You know, it's real, it exists, and built up an English navy. Even though Henry started it, but of course they really upgraded under Elizabeth, but paid for by the Holy See. Yeah, whichever way you go. The gold and silver were coming out of the South America, going to the Holy See, but they just thought, oh, we'll take a bit of a function, we could build this bunch up here, and away they went. So we've been through all that, we've got a good idea that was what was going on, but I'll tell you what we haven't really looked at and noted, and that is, the English didn't really get into America until 1607, when the first English colony was set up at Jamestown in Virginia. 1607, yeah, this is when it was going on. James the 1st, 6th of Scotland, and Elizabeth, they were, you know, setting up these Virginia companies, blah, 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 blah. But there were another bunch that had been in there for over 100 years. And we forget that because I'll tell you what they've been good at, this first bunch, and that is thrusting it upon those naughty Protestants that had the audacity to leave the flock over there in Rome. And it's like, and people have sucked it up. We've all sucked it up because we've not really just thought about it, right? So 108 years they had of slaughter. Absolute slaughter. And the creation of Mexico, the creation of Texas, which was the main base in North America, which is why, in most cases, you never see, you know, you've got to go back to Pocahontas, going back to Last of the Mohicans here, to see that the Indians in the east and northeast of America, North America, the Indians were actually on par with the French, with the English, and with the Dutch. Why? Because of what were going on in the other part of America, coming up as it was through Mexico, and that would be the old Spaniards. Okay, said to be thrust out of Spain, blah de blah de blah 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 blah, and everybody focuses to Jews. Okay, we know there were a lot of Jews expelled from Spain, but they set up business over there quite well, hence the slave trading that began over there as well, because of the plantations. Now, before I go up my own ass, let's have a look at Spain. Because Spain, history tells us, well, no, it was taken over and they were all kicked out. Who kicked out? The Moors. Oh, well, the Moors were the North Africans, or direct connected to the old Carthaginians, which is the Phoenicians. And yes, they did take over Spain. And they brought Spain all the sciences, etc., that actually Europe had lost. If it ever had it, but I'm pretty sure it did because the Greeks had it. You know, the Europeans and the Greeks are pretty much the same people. The early Greeks, we're not talking about, you know, the later stuff, but the early Greeks, Macedonians and such. With the exception of the Spartans, because the Spartans have claimed themselves that they were from Egypt. But you can see that all going down there. But the Moors took over Spain. Also, recently, in the last couple of years, you've seen a lot of the Black Lives Matter guys pulling out this, what appeared to be real, the fact that everybody in certain states have sworn the oath to the Moorish flag. So, take from that the Moors kicked out of Spain, were they kicked out or were they sent? Well, it was only we had to you have to keep this division going, of course. Make us all think that, oh, they're all separate. They're all separate, by golly. Slap of my thigh. You know, that's the way it goes. No, 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 no. This is a Roman Empire thrusting itself all over the shop and keeping a division between what were being built through the Protestant movement and this launching of the Spaniards over there in South America, Mexico up into North America. That's why the Moors took control. So we miss this. So many of the natives over there in South America and in North America towards the west were actually knocked off by the Spanish, by the Moors, and the Moors are Islamic. They were Muslims, were they not? Works in sync with the fact that Alberto Rivera, in a series of videos and books, was very clear about the data he'd found in the Vatican archives, just showing fully that actually the Carthaginian Roman elites over there in North Africa had actually created Islam to act as a sword across North America and then into what we knew as Persia, then up through to Byzantium, which is why the Venetians actually ensured that the Caliphate actually did take over Byzantium. But then history, what does history show us? It's everything to do with the French, the English and the Dutch that were killing all the Native Americans. Not so. Not until the Dutch, the English and the French were falling out on North America. Then the natives that were assigned to the French, the Dutch and the English were then joining in with the wars because the French, the English and the Dutch were always fighting each other because they were stupid. That's history. So we've been given a false everything here. But let's get into perspective that the Moors, Islamic, flags over in the many United States are actually based on the Moorish claims to that land. They're the ones that annihilated the natives over there, and not so much the old English, Dutch or French. They were the mass murdering pigs, which they've always been, haven't they, the Spanish? They've caused havoc pretty much everywhere they ever went. And because, of course, you know, the Portuguese were the early colonisers with the Spanish and then the Dutch, then it was the English. But the English didn't start colonising as such, i.e. in a nasty way, until it became the 1700s, once the Prussians had come in as the Hanoverians and started laying out the metal, the sword everywhere you could get the feet. So that's an interesting gig that people don't necessarily think of, because straight away the map just says Spain, nothing to do with Native Americans up there, we're all South American. Nonsense and rubbish. And we'll have a look at some of that data just to show that. But let's just, before we go there, let's go to what's going on today, what's been going on for the last 10 years. Because this connection between elites and Rome, the imperial side, as you see, they're still there. They've never been away. If you're looking, CIA has always been cited as being basically a Jesuit, Malta, Freemasonic network, an intelligence network beholden to those. Lincoln, famous for saying, had it not been for the sinister play of the Jesuits, the Civil War would never have happened. So they had power way back in the midst of time, before history shows us that it was just a gig based on England versus Americans. And of course, we know there were a huge contingent of Germans, Dutch, French, Italians in the United States, or America as it was, before the Holy Roman Empire took it over again through Lincoln, who then changed his mind apparently, a bit like JFK, you know, a Catholic by in all, whichever way you look at it, but had realised Vatican II were garbage and said nah. And what were he attacking more than anything? The CIA. So I would say that JFK was actually a Catholic as opposed to a member of this mad regime that's going on we call Rome. Anyway, before we get into that, who's here? What are you saying? How's it going? Mew says, good evening, one and all. How do, Sean? Good evening to you, Mew. Me says, excellent, let's escape the madness of the illusion and welcome to the Wise Asylum with Sean and the crew. This Sunday evening now, I would suggest. Paul Sefton says, good evening, Sean and everyone. Good evening to you, Paul. Kerry Thompson says, love from Ireland and love back to you from old Blighty. Wayne says, hello everyone, greetings. Hello, Wayne. Me says, support Sean on the way into the asylum. Returning your energy for Sean's energy simply by pressing thumbs up and showing support for Sean. Please do. It does have an effect. I mean, I know I don't usually scream about this kind of stuff, but it does actually have an effect. And we've gained a lot of subscribers this week, so I'm expecting them to show next week. But they don't, but never mind. Me says, there's Sean. There's me here. Lex Smart says, Sean, evening. Good evening to you, Lex. PY Music, good evening. Paul says, evening all. Good evening to you, Mucker. How's it going? Are you alright? Are you writing any good stuff at the moment? I haven't spoken to you for a while. We'll have to catch up. Lex says, give us the uptake on this smart meter malarkey. Okay, well, we were all at it from the get-go. There were a lot of images, which is what focused me to them, was the fact it would show meters outside of property, foliage, brown. So it then suggested clearly there was something coming off these meters. However, probably last year, an actual engineer took one to pieces and went through the parts. He couldn't find anything that was transmitting dangerous signals. However, that can't be correct because it has to be connecting to the Wi-Fi because they're all passing on data to the next one until it gets to the chosen meter that then communicates with the masts. But he was very adamant that there was nothing in there that was seriously bad that would cause radiation. I don't know. I'm still not convinced, but I had to take on board what he said. What he was bothered about is the fact that those meters give the energy companies complete and utter control over whether they switch it off or not. Not even forgetting, this is where they're getting your carbon footprint from. That's why they need the smart meters. If you don't have the smart meters, they can't collect the data as easily for your carbon footprint. Just in the same way as you're buying food, it's carbon footprint. Fuel for whatever you're using is a carbon footprint. That's what they're collecting because that's what's going to score you in this garbage. If people don't start to get a grip and realise that we need to sort that out, it's no good. We can't let them get on with that. But there is some good signs which we'll have a look at first before we get into all that malarkey. Karen says, evening. Good evening, Karen. I see all those with companies who fail to file will be charged $3,000 by our owners. The Crown fail to file. Okay. Well, you would have to be the person, wouldn't you? If they want the trust to file, then the state will have to do it as the trustee, because you're no longer the trustee, are you? Yeah, I hope you've been listening and learning. It's so important that you focus on equity, to understand how you can combat it when they come at you, okay? Unless you are that surname in the old uppercase. Me says, only one thumbs up by me, pure born idol. Are they all being naughty? Well, actually, it's fair to say you can't really press like now because you don't know whether I'm going to talk garbage, I might come on tonight and talk absolute gobbledygook. No, you're not going to like that, are you? You're going to say, you're going to toss it, sort your shit out, are you? And rightly so. Anyway. We got 7 now. Excellent. Well, okay, super duper. Smart meter usage is what has a SIM card in it. Simply unplug from the wall socket so back goes flat and they are disabled. So last property I were in, I couldn't get into the router to turn the Wi-Fi off. It wouldn't let me. So they've now got, once they get control into your internet, they can actually prevent you. Of course, once they knew what I mean, because of course this computer has its own signature. Yeah, wherever this computer goes, they know exactly where I am, don't they? Let's be frank about it. They just blocked me from actually turning off the internet, which of course they would have to do because they were full of smart meters. Michael Jr. says, good evening, Sean. Good evening, all. Good evening to you, Michael. RE Smart Meter enforcement only apply to the person legal name, not you. Of course, we've gone through that before. Look, quite simply, it is a pay-as-you-go system. It's a prepaid system, your electric, your gas. Of course, you've got to know a little bit about the equitable side if you're going to try this. Now, you're not paying for energy, because that's prepaid. But these sneaky little energy companies have come in. Of course, British Gas started it off. They didn't tell you, that's why it's so important. And put a meter in and said, oh, we're going to charge you a tariff for using our meter. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Do you agree? Yes, blah, blah, blah. So the tails in the electric meter and the meter itself belong to the company. Right? Just get it out. Then there's no contract. Let them come and take it out. Make sure they take the tails out. But you take your main fuse out first so they can't mess with that because it is yours. It's actually robbery if they take it off you. But just to satisfy that they can't do that, let police come in and all their aunties and uncles. It doesn't matter. You take the meter out, fuck off. Gone. Contract ended with that property and that company. Put your own meter in. That's it. But you've got to know how to deal with them. So again, it's important. You come to grips and understand how equity works and how they're bumming you because you're operating wrong, incorrectly on the old equitable side of the trust system. Michael Jr. says, pre-Arabic Moors. Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about this, going through some data today, and I just thought, yeah, even I've never actually put it out this way, to be fair. So we do need to look at this, because what I'm trying to pull together is the fact that everything we think is separated isn't. Only at the top end. Only at the bottom. The top are all playing together in sync, and this is why it doesn't matter what site you're in, what religion you're in, everything's heading to this Armageddon gig for the biblical tradition. So I'm trying to say it's just garbage, and they need you to think like that because you're the ones that are going to do it. So that's what that's the intention behind what we're going to look at tonight. Anyway. So we're not attacking one bunch or another, just showing that it's all the same shite. Anthony says, hey up Sean and the gang, hey up Anthony. Gary Garcia says, good morning, still dark here, how you doing Gary over there in Oz? You are early, my friend. Andrea of the House Fallon says, how do? Well, how do to you, Andrea. Anthony says, Sean, the post you put up about the abolition of the office of the king, to your knowledge, is there anything you know of that is in current legislation? As I would imagine they would hide this fact. Okay, something else that's been brought to my attention this week as a potential as to how they get away with this. Now, when you look at Westminster, in and of itself, it's a sovereign city. Okay, they don't want you to see that, but that's what it is. So you've got Westminster Abbey, you've got Buckingham, all these things are tied to it. Now, the original name for that area of landmass was Thorney Island. Okay, Thorney Island. Now, I think we might have covered it when we looked at John Dee at some point, the fact that he'd done a ritual in this particular area that's still celebrated as that. And from that point, the British Empire gained its stunning power. But Thorney Island is an interesting history. But I'm sort of thinking, is the office of monarch, as we've had since 1649, actually an office only within the landed boundary of Thorney Island? That means we've had pricks for monarchs since 1949, because Thorney Island is thorns, so big thorns. But yet, let's look at what happened. All our politicals, our military, police, and any judiciary have all taken an oath to what? That persona, King Charles III. Not in his private capacity, but as that title. Now, if that title only belongs to Thorney Island, you've all took your oath to a prickly bunch that have absolutely no bearing whatsoever on England, on Scotland, on Wales, on Ireland, and the rest of the Commonwealth. Interesting. So I don't know whether that helps you there a tad, But there's something gone on, and there's something we're not twigging. Because, of course, we know now, don't we, that our estates are now being held in the Bank of England. And the Bank of England operates for the Bank of International Settlements, which is why Peter of England, in his checks, ties the Bank of England to the Bank of International Settlements. I've looked, and we're looking at Peter's stuff, and in all truth, we can come and understand what he's doing, but it's also looking like, because people are trying it that haven't understood what he's doing, nor have they understood the basic principles of trust law and of private public. People, you see, if you think about it from what Peter's doing, because he's coming in as a third party, then once you've done the process correctly, you should not be getting any communications whatsoever. It goes to him. So you're doing something wrong. And that's because there's a concept that you haven't understood. And people would then say, now I don't know for sure what's going on with Peter of England in truth, okay? Because I haven't given it as much focus as I perhaps should. But one of my colleagues is giving it a lot of attention. So it's an interesting gig, but if what Peter's done is correct, then to gain the correct... so you move into the beneficial side, or the birth certificate side of the trust situation, then we could all discharge each other's debts by coming in. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm not using all the terminology for it, because I don't want to get too in-depth in that gig at the moment. But we are looking at it, and it does look quite interesting, and there's a concept. And we do understand what he's doing and why the check is written in the way it is. But at the moment, we're pretty much quite adamant that it looks like it's not so much Peter at fault, but you are not understanding the game before you set off to do it. And I would say that's just because you're just thinking, money, 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 money. So that serves you right, basically. So more action is needed from you, and more, giving a bit more effort before you start sending things off all over the shop. So there we go. So it's just this, there's so much that we don't fucking know, but we are learning. And I think a lot of it is we have the data, but we haven't connected it. And we're not connecting it because we are missing certain things in relation to how this gig works. You know what I mean? So I don't look at it and think, oh, they're evil. I look at it as I'm thinking. I haven't trusted it yet, so it's my fault. I'm doing something wrong. I haven't put the effort in a particular way properly, or blah, blah, blah. I'm putting it on me because that makes me do the work. Yeah? It's the only way to like I said, this last 2 years I've just changed tack so many times. But I've changed tack. Do you know what I mean? It's that important. And it seems to be moving in a direction that doesn't pull up any obstructions that then can't be satisfied. You know what I'm saying? So it really is about learning what they're doing. What are their moves? Then on the chessboard, once you're doing it correctly, you move into that checkmate. Yeah, does that make sense? Wales, says Michael Jr. Wales has lost the plot. Road speeds down from 30 miles an hour to 20 miles an hour. Tomorrow going to be complete chaos. In all truth, it's always been a complete blank. But remember, all this painting on the roads, these paintings on the highways, traffic lights, any encumbrance is an obstruction on the highway code, in the highway gig. But in the road system, just think of it another way. They keep telling you your vehicle has to be kept up to road, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the fucking roads are fucked. Do you know what I'm saying? Remember also, they took the tax tick away so that you didn't realise that it's PLG, you're not doing commerce, public light goods. They're coming at you on commerce because you're on the road. You don't understand your position in the trust. got you. It's on you. You really have to. Honestly, you just slow down in everything. You're not letting get excited with this stuff. We're heading into autumn. Autumn's a time when you're pulling what you've done for the year. You're harvesting it. And in the winter is for deep absorption and shifting. Make that harvest become a part of you, your subconscious. So you can present it and act it in the conscious side. Or the map. It's always about changing that map. You know, get that map changed. Get it in sync with the territory. Then you can start that journey from within where it's nothing to do with your eyeballs. The insight you're looking for there is the pineal. And it moves back down the frequencies, through the chakras, and back up again. And then you're seeing with a completely different eye. Yeah. And then, you know, it's what frequencies can you see on? Then you're getting your subconscious, your soul starting to show itself. But first you've got to get that map as in tune as you can with the territory. Or you're just going to shit yourself, be afraid, etc., etc. And you're not going to be able to concentrate on the work at hand. Yaman TV says, evening everyone. Yaman TV, hello to you. Husky, alright to you. Andrew Gill, evening all. Good Andrew, evening. No, good evening, Andrew. Sorry. Jace says, oh, Jace, me old China, how you doing up there, down there in the old Aussie? Again, you're up early, mate. Well done, nice one. Guten Tag. Untitled says, hello, Sean, males and females. Good evening to you, Untitled. How are you doing, me old China? Husky says, enroll deep poll. Change your name to Christian name only. No legal name, affectionate. Well, it's not so much that you change your name, you just don't use the surname from the father's line. Because that's where the dead trust is set up in the, in the name of the Father. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Holy Ghost, we think, is the maiden name trust. So basically and of course, that's a secret gig, because they don't tell you about that's going on. That's the Holy Ghost, isn't it? The perpetual instrument. So in effect, what's really going on when you get married, in the public, you take on the Father, in the name of the Father, the dead trust. But in the background, the Holy Ghost and its Holy See is taking on, as attached in power structure, the male's line has actually been pulled in to the female's trust, which is itself a surname, which is why the Vatican is clear. We can own the surname. That's what they're saying. Yes, Protestant Catholic, it doesn't really matter. But the surname of the female, the maiden name, would appear to be the perpetual instrument that the Holy See hold in trust as the claim of right to everything. And that's hidden, so it's a Holy Ghost. So the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, they've got you. But of course, we now know that on behalf of the Holy See, the other division, which is purely Admiralty Maritime, is that ecclesiastical jurisdiction is held by the Temple Bar. That bunch of geezers that are unincorporated. It's a private society, which is why the monarch has to bow and knock if they want to go hoity-toity. Because as in the case of the last monarch, was a member of the Middle Temple. We've been through all that, haven't we? But it's good that it keeps pulling together more and more, and we can start to comprehend it a little bit better. But yeah, there's definitely, Thorny Island has the power over everything. Let's see it as it is here. You've took an oath to what? This is why the Bible tells you not to take oaths. And that includes secret societies, Husky says, enrolled. Oh, I've done that. Me says, where are we? What have I done here? That shot up. Enroll. No. Anthony says, yes, Magna Carta, if those in power fail to act, the people have the duty under the right of lawful rebellion. That's common law. Different jurisdiction. It is not the equitable jurisdiction at all. That's for people that are freehold and landowners, because they're holding a second right claim to the land. We're on equity, it's a third right claim. you're not even being, you're dead. So the reason why I'm focusing now all the time to equity is because common law is not for you unless you have the freehold on the land of the property you are in possession of, whichever way you're in possession of it. Because if there's claims to that land, you're a tenant. Because it's rights of claim. Monarch first claim, but now it's in the Bank of England. You see, it's looking at that. Why now is it in the Bank of England? Yeah, which has made us think and look at this idea that the monarch really has absolutely nothing to do with England, Scotland, or even Wales at all, apart from the fact that with the Scottish side of what's going on over there, and I'm not talking about Scottish people, we're talking about bloodline power, Presbyterian Whig side of it, Templars, Teutonics, Malta, Hospitallers, St John, etc., Opus Dei, all these knightly orders. That's where they've shoved their front monarch honours, because that's what we focus to, because we still think it's all operational, but yet it's all going on in the background. The estate's being held in the Bank of England, in readiness to be moved into this Norhide Bank. I don't know. Cos says, hey up, we got the fist, the gigs on, and the thumbs up. How you doing, Cos? Untitled says, Christian name only, of course. Oh, no way, Christian name only. No way. Your middle name as well, but they are... So that's your private side, you may say, which is why it's done in correct English grammar, and that the family estate of the in the name of the father is all caps. Yeah, this is why your mail comes to... It's addressed to that. You still believe you that. You're going to open it and you're going to respond to it. Yeah? So you've got to start to come to grips with the basics of equity. You have to start again. David Dolby says, Church of England Bank of England laws of England. Of, now then, young man, David Dalby. Hope I'm saying that right. Welcome. Of, etymologically, and in the old satanic language of the legalese, actually means away from. So the church away from England. What was it before? Probably Holy See demarcation. But it would be the Church of Jerusalem, in my opinion. And of course, they've now shifted all that over to Israel, which until 1947, the entire piece was called Palestine. So, you know, me says, Husky Sean and me are not legal entities. No, you're not. You have a holding interest because, of course, you're in the holding, the certificate, the birth certificate, aren't you? You're in possession of that. You are the holder of that. So there's your interest. But at the beneficial side, you're going in and saying, I am... You're not on the beneficial side. You've flipped over into the position of trustee. You're then liable. The trust, yeah? The administrator, whomever it is that's trying to bum you, are going to make you pay to balance the ledger. Yeah? Jay says, me's channel. Oh, let's put there up, no problem. Me says, on birth certificate, only first name, no surname. Person, legal name, first name, and surname. Yeah, well, everything, the whole system, in its entirety, right back to ecclesiastical, is based on the presumption that you haven't got a clue what you're talking about, and you're right, you don't know what your rights are. That's the presumption. You have to rebut those presumptions. And you've got to consider it on the checkerboard. The moment you're ordering around as pawns, the back row is telling you what to do in whatever way, whether it's through the religion, whether it's through the knightly orders of the castle, direct honour to the king or the queen. Yeah, all these positions on the back row are controlling the pawns by one of those mechanics, or even more. Yeah. Now, what we know today is that behind the back row, because they're all puppets, there's another force, a hidden force, that's controlling all the back line. So in reality, if you're putting yourself on the chessboard, you're not only coming across the pawns from the back row, but you know that the back row isn't operating in accordance with the game as you think it's set, or the rules of chess. There's something else going on that's hidden. Yeah? Jay says, hope you don't mind me. Okay. Kurno Paste. Good evening to you. Me says, Anthony, good book. The Law and the Constitution, W. Ivor Jennings, University of London Press Limited. Husky, why Husky? Says me. Jace Vent says, getting married is a contract that involves the state. Of course, it's only two trusts coming together. But what it's looking like is the Holy Ghost is nicking through the tying of the Maiden Names Trust, which is the perpetual instrument held by the Holy See. And so really, in the background, in the hidden side, they're using the maiden surname to nick the unsuspecting husband. Yeah? But to all intents and purposes out there in the real world, it's the males that's in charge. You will do as I say, wench, I can hit you with a stick. As long as it's not thicker than the index finger. That's exactly the way the Muslims see it. Not so much the way the Jews see it, although I don't know enough about the real core Jewish traditions as it plays out on the street. I don't really know enough to comment there, but yeah, it's quite. Well, no, actually, it is Old Testament, isn't it? All that garbage where you can whip your woman. Whip you woman! You don't do what I say. Yet the power base has actually nicked your father's name and attached it to the. It's just so you couldn't make it up, but they can, and they do, and they're running it. You know, it's quite bizarre. So the woman then assumes your surname and proceeds to be liable for that too. Well, remember, it's all about the res in the trust. So your first name and middle name, maybe, is the res, you the flesh and blood, according to Genesis 1, right? They're nicking all that away from you. And the moment you enter in and accept the trust in the name of the Father, you've become the res inside that dead trust. And it's been administered by the government and by Crown, equity side and common law side, but the hidden side is the ecclesiastical. Yeah. So the core is actually a cleric, vicar, priest. That's what they are. They've pulled it together. They're the boss, really. But once you enter in, the court opens, then the judge, it's his court or her court. They're going to administer it based on the agreement, which is what these star courts are doing. You've gone in as, they're just going to screw you because you've gone in as dead. They're not interested in all the laws that they need to. You're dead. You can do what they want. You've come in the name of the Father. You need to be coming in as Horus, don't you? The Son. But in Genesis 1. Minus the surname as IDing you, but you need to work it so that the certificate that you hold, which is your interest, you're pulling the beneficial side into it. So you go back to the stat deck that we put up, or solemn declaration. Read what we've written at the beginning of it for you and understand what it means, because there it is in a nutshell, and it's a potent and powerful instrument. But more importantly, the way we wrote it shows you, we're giving you an inside inkling into how you should sort of communicate with the system. Husky says, exactly, so you drop the surname via official enrolled deed, pay from Royal Courts of Justice, stamped by Judge Rock. Why would you want to go anywhere near the Royal Courts of Justice? If you're going to a court to have this done on a court ruling, then you'd have to go to Chancery. That upholds the rights of the beneficiary. You go into Ministry of Justice, that can only deal with fiction. Yeah. This is what I'm saying about you've got to start again. You've got to start again because we are missing important data. We understand the actual foundation of it. If you live in fact, why go on to person if you don't comprehend it? Because, well, they made it so we don't comprehend it, so that we, by definition of every act we do, we are declaring it everywhere. Jay says, the woman then assumes your surname and proceeds to be liable for that too. Well, it's not so much the woman, it's the Holy Ghost side of things, the Holy See. Because it looks like the maiden's surname isn't lost at sea, it's in the hands of the Holy See. In the name of the Father as a trust, it is lost at sea, and again is in the hands of the Holy See. Can we understand a bit more why it's called the Holy See? Sea of commerce. You're either dead, drowned in it, lost in it, or it's active through the Holy Ghost side of things. Bill Turner goes through that, shows you that exact thing on the driving license. You've got your image. It incorporates your first and middle names in correct English grammar, and then underneath is the surname in uppercase. Now, if you look at the background, you can see another image. That's the Holy Ghost. Cemented in paper ID or plastic ID, but yeah, cemented. I mean, I'm still on my paper license, but the trust is. The trust is still operating on the paper license. So when they come to me, you've got ID, I'm like, what? What do you mean? I define it. Yeah, anyway. Let's have a look. Husky says, I just explained, drop the surname, you become creditor. Surname belongs to the debtor. It does. So private, public. Again, yeah, that's another. You should look at the cross. You're on the cross, private, public, but you're always dead. So you're going to be liable. You've not resurrected yourself. Can you see all the jargon? It's there. It's all there to be seen. It's all there to be known. And it's a mimic of how you would deal in the unseen kind of thing. But it mimics it. It's a mimic, which is why it's bastardized, if you will. So Jay says, rather she makes you liable. Well, no, you do it yourself. It's just two trusts conjoined. But it would appear in the ecclesiastical, the maiden trust trumps in the name of the Father. There's still more for me to understand. I'm basically just giving it to you as we're seeing the picture, as we delve further and further into this shenanigans. David Dalby says, King of England, Bank of England, Church of England, Laws of England. Exactly. It used to be called the common law. Not the laws of, the common law. Yeah, we in this nation are the high trust society. Meaning, you could basically move around knowing full well most people you're going to encounter are basically on the same level of trust. They brought in low trust cultures, which is why they have to have so many rules, such bloodthirsty punishments. It's because they live in a low trust society. And that was confirmed to me by my Muslim friends who go over to Pakistan and say the exact words from my mates were the snidey bastards over there. Everybody's trying to shit on everybody. And if you don't have connections to the police over there, you can't go over there. So if your family that's living over here doesn't have connections with the police over in Pakistan, you can't go. It's as simple as that. It's far too dangerous. So low trust, high trust. West had an high trust society, which is why we could do and build what we built. But in these other cultures, they're all low trusts, and so they've mixed that in, and it's changed the basic premise of commerce. That's what it's done, as well as society cohesion. It's gone, and it's because of that. You can't mix two completely opposite cultures together and expect to find a middle ground. You just can't, especially when those divisions come as from a religious perspective. It's impossible. You're not going to do it. Only that each individual himself can do it within himself. You can't actually carte blanche change things, because that's why wars go on. That's why you can see this second horse that's coming, another wake-up call. You think everything's peaceful and great because you're running around woke, then you're dreaming, son and sister. In fact, I won't call you sister, I'd call you thing. I don't call you son, actually. I'd call you thing. Just so we know. Me says, Anthony, look at Wikipedia, legal name. It states legal name is a person. If given legal name, you are consenting to be a person with liability and obligation under legislation. Yeah, but things are not as simple as that. You've all got bank accounts. And then we realised that we've got it up because we didn't understand this. So that's a fraud because you didn't get full disclosure. But you want to work around that. You know, you don't start attacking your bank. You just shoot your accounts and such like that. So it's a minefield. It's a labyrinth, basically. You're Odysseus in the labyrinth trying to find your way because nobody's leaving strings anywhere. Michael Jr. says, merge the legal title with the beneficial title and then it collapses the trust. Well, it's already merged, it's just the positions are different, aren't they? It's the positions within the trust that they're playing with and that we don't understand. We have the right to life, but no money. Well, it's not all about money, is it? Let's be frank. It makes it easier, and the world today runs on money. If you haven't got any, you're going to be in trouble. But it doesn't matter. What does Schwab say? You'll own nothing and be happy. They're going to take the lot. Look what they're doing now with the mortgages. High interest rates. Now the what's around the corner. Is your property compliant with the climate change malarkey? Now in Sweden, they're saying that it'll mean 50% of the housing stock is going to have to spend something like £44,000 on each property to bring it up to spec. Yeah? The only houses that are up to spec are the ones the housing associations having fleeced you and nicked them and spending the money on them. Carbon footprint, boilers, all your ways you're eating, all that's what it's going to all come down to. So they can freeze the living daylights out of you and starve you to death because you can't eat anything but cat poo. Capital letters are American Sign Language, but that doesn't include names, as names aren't part of language. Which is why American English isn't English. There's only two languages allowed in Roman court, and that's English and French. Not American English, English. Which is why everybody uses American English. You're not communicating in the correct manner. So you can hit all the boxes in relation to, I know the positions of the trust, I know this, blah, blah, blah. But if you've written it in American English, it won't communicate in a court. So it won't be taken seriously, it won't have any standing. We've been through all this over time. We've touched on all these points. Tony Rodeo says, I am a legend. Are you a legend indeed, Tony? Well, thanks for joining us. We could do with a few leg ends on here. Aladdin says, AI did it all. Sorry. Me says, Aladdin AI did it all. No, I really do believe you're giving AI far too much potency because, of course, behind AI is somebody programming it. Landraver says, I, Sean, did an SEM chemical analysis on the rain dust for you. Interesting results. Left a comment on your warfare over blighted video. Well, thank you very much, sir. I mean, you're more than welcome to give it us on here so anybody watching can see it. But Landraver, you are a gem. It's guys, gals like yourself that we need. People need to start moving like this and doing this so we actually have some data. Michael Jr. says, Landraver, what did you find? Ooh, you've got intrigue going on now, Landraver. We were born creditors. Well, we were born as man or mind. They've created this whole system, the term creditor, debtor, etc., etc. We were born and we were given dominion over certain things. Not ownership, dominion. Again, understand what dominion is. Because that's what you're after. You're not looking for ownership. And again, but that doesn't really come in until you're getting into common law, you're getting into ecclesiastical especially. So it's not something we need to really focus to while we're trying to come to terms with equity. But, you know, we've gone through 3 jurisdictions. We're just focused equity because we know that's where it's at in the first instant. So basically, you get your equity side together, you're getting land then. Then you want to be turning that land into dominion side of things. Yeah, so you need to be dealing with every claim against it. And of course, if you set up the equity side, you can discharge any claim against that piece of land. And so that land would have to be boundaried as under dominion, and not in this shenanigans in its entirety. You're on equal terms with the same format that these popes, elite imams, any heads of any religion are claiming by right under dominion, Genesis 1. You need to come into equal standing with them, and you can only do that by coming to terms with the fact that Genesis 1 is what they're operating on, while you've been given Genesis 2 because you're an animal in the garden, soon to be plucked. I mean, look at another term. All what's just going on in the last 3 years is liquidation of the creditor before the creditor finds out, or the offspring of the creditor finds out. Liquidation. But you're putting yourself into liquidation, are you not? Same as you go to war. And it's not necessarily because you're defending your land. You're being liquidated. Baptism on my channel by Patrick Devine, still pertinent. Citizen. Meets legal English is not even a language. Yeah, but it is in a Roman court. Yeah? Get away from this. Well, it shouldn't be like that. So I'm not even taking it on. Except, it shouldn't be like that, but that's how it is. That's how I'm going to play it. That's where you get rid of anger. Yeah? You're not going, well, that's disgusting. I'm never accepting that. Forever and ever, amen. That's all you're going to be. No. It shouldn't be like that, but fuck it. It is like that. Crack on with how it is. Because your map now has accepted that that's the territory. That's how I'm going to behave. That's how I'm going to act. Otherwise, it won't work. It won't work, and you won't be able to see what you want to see because you're just raging. I have issues trusting something called chancery. Well, chancery belongs to the lawyer system rather than the barrister system. The barristers set up, they're the temple boys, they set up the game as they needed more and more, as more and more work were coming in and there were more and more things to be done. They started subcontracting things out to different people who then became lawyers and solicitors and then became their own society. Yeah? That's what's happened. So the barristers, the temples, they're all private cities, it's all private. The subcontractors that then became their own thing, but they're not their own thing because of course they're operating according to the barrister side of things, but the public side of what it was in the private side, i.e. barristers, chancery, or not chancery, because chancery is in the lawyer side of things. Born creditor. No, you weren't born a creditor, you were born man, in the image of. You were born as a mind in the image of. This avatar, you know what I'm saying, is just an avatar. Man who you are is mind. So it's all your parts. Every part of you within as a being is inside this avatar. Yep. Again, another really important thing to grasp if you're going to come to terms and understand Genesis 1. Husky says, yes, my baptism certificate is also an option, but they write your name in capitals. Well, coach, you choose titles, case style baptism. It's only for the Christian name, you still will hold surname. So I believe on confirmation, then you have given your mum and dad gave your soul up to its respective religion. Husky says, you drop surname box 2, no surname, drop what surname? You say drop surname box 2, no surname, drop what surname? Husky says, it keeps flicking up there quite fast. Enrolled depot allows up a lowercase Christian name and allowed to drop erase surname. Enrolled depot. What are you playing it there? This is why you've got to change the way you think. Untitled. International law is above all legislative laws. That's what the Rothschilds have been pushing in, or all they see through the Rothschilds since the 1700s. International law, bypassing your law. So it's United Nations, NAFTA, GATT, EU. Yep, all the contracts that have been set up on your behalf through United Nations, Club of Rome, Royal Institute of International Affairs, CFI, Bilderberg. Yeah. What's the other one? There's another one, I can't remember it actually. Chancery is equity, equity is above law. Where the heck have you got that from, your China? That's upside down. Can you see what I'm saying? Husky, I know that full call on for thick. Sorry, I don't comprehend your question. Okay, you told me. In simple English. Who's not speaking English? Me? Well, I am. Believe me. Louise Burnett. Hello, Louise. Who is the grantor of the public trust? Who is the grantor of the public trust? Well, it's set up, isn't it, by mum and dad. They shove in it. So, is it parents? Not mother and father, but parents, because they're already screwed. It belongs to the crown. So, suggesting then that the crown is the grantor. Husky says, oh, sorry, I see you meant the full cut. Right, sorry, you guys are talking amongst yourself. My apologies, chaps. Hang on. Husky says, okay, eating, blah, 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 blah. Right. Okay, so you chatting amongst yourself, that's fine. Okay, right, let's have a look at some data. What did I look at? Good news. Good news indeed. This week, it's been reported, cash payments have risen for the first time in 10 years. Payments made with notes and coins rose as the cost of living started to bite, but debit card use was higher. So there's still big use of debit card, but it's on the rise. Good, because October they're going to decide. They've already decided in G20, including Russia. Again, Guardian, cash payments grow. First time in a decade. Keep in mind though, because of what's happened, the card payments. So, but look, people that have to use the card machines are crying their eyes out because it costs a fortune. It costs a fortune. So what I've been doing is I'll go into places and I'll say, do you want cash or card? And they'll say cash. I'll say, well, we will get a reduction. Yeah. Even if it's 10p, I'll pay cash. Encourage it. Make it happen. Everybody works. If businesses start encouraging, making it cheaper if you use cash, you're not paying these fees for these machines, are you? Is that not good news or what? That is excellent news, isn't it? It's September, we've got September, but in October they're going to decide. Get using cash rapido. and keep using it no matter what they do on Carrot Cake Mountain. It doesn't matter. It's way up there in the mountains of cake. What else? So, I just want to have a little delve into this. So, this is the German side of things being pulled into the Kudenhof-Kalergi plan, which is the very doctrine that's enforcing all this immigration. And Keir Starmer has said he's going to allow the EU to run UK migrant policy. So they'll decide how many migrants we're taking and how many boat migrants we can return. Brexit ignored in favour of the UN Migrant Pact, the streets of Paris coming here, which of course that image is what it's like in Paris. They're happening all over the shore where they're just flooding little towns that have been like that for hundreds and hundreds of years. And you're getting these fruit bats in that are causing havoc. Now, that's an invasion, folks. Just because a foreign entity which calls itself a government has brought them in doesn't mean militia can't deal with it. You know what I'm saying? No, wait a minute. I didn't even send that over, did I? My apologies. Multipolar world. Could Russia's new alliance of closeted gay, brown, third worldism provide a geopolitical counterweight to the West's openly gay, brown, third worldism? The new BRICS alliance is no fan of the West, which will set them at geopolitical odds with the West hating the West. And there it goes through. There's no difference between BRICS and the West as it sends its agendas are the same. The same. It's destruction of the West. Right? And immigration is a big part of it. So you can tie that to the Kalergi plan that I've got there. God, I need to remember I have to transition. Yeah, actually, if I do that, I don't actually have to transition, so it won't make mistakes. So this is where we got going on here. This idea that there's the West and the East up battle. BRICS is one, the financial side, and now we've got this military side, but they've got the same intention, the same aims in their absolute. Now I want you to look at this as well. Putin. There you go. Chabad Lubavitch. Okay? That's who they are. Ultra Orthodox Jews. But they're very important now. This week, September the 15th. There you go. Chabad Lubavitch. This is part of a video and they're playing a tune. Look at the sign at the back. There's not only is the sign for Ukraine, it's also the sign of the old Khazarian Empire. Putin. We've seen many of them. I've shown them many times. This week. Okay? Same gig. But people are dying. The Slavs are being slaughtered. 71,000 plus Ukrainian soldiers and civilians killed in this 3-month push that's failed miserably. Yeah? It's not good, is it? So now I want you to look at this. Let's have a see. What's really going on with this idea that there's a division between Russia and the West. Let's have a look at some news coming out of Russia. Okay, all these are news reports coming out of Russia. The first couple of pages is this week. In January, July, the United States increased purchases of Russian fertilizers to a record 944 million. So there's sanctions going on, but in January to July, the United States increased its purchases of Russian fertilizers. Masks, as well as other preventive measures, have again been made mandatory in the Russian government house. Russia's playing the same gig. Due to a seasonal surge in colds and flu, and that's coming from TASS. First one coming from Novosti. Russia and China are now preparing to sign cooperation agreement in the Arctic Hydrogen Energy Station, and that's Gazeta, Romania. Local restrictions due to the autumn increase in the incidence of ARVI may be temporarily introduced in Russian institutions. Rospotrobesnadzor has warned, adding that regional or federal measures would only be imposed if the situation becomes serious, and that's again in TASS. First two civilian ships used the so-called alternative grain corridor in the Black Sea to enter the port of Chernomorsk, Odessa region, and that's from the Nakanoon. Yep. The Bank of Russia raised the key rate of 1% to 13%, reportedly to counter significant pro-inflationary risks, and that's in the Vedomosti. This is what's going on in Russia today. Does it sound like the same script that's going on in old blighty US and everywhere else in the world? Russian military has changed tactics in Ukraine, deviating from the MOD's established military doctrine. So they're changing. Right, the Russian military is changing its game. Russia's demographic crisis, the situation, let's say it's not very positive, and that's from the Free Press. Western sanctions imposed on Russia have not yet served as an impetus for the serious development of import substitution in mechanical engineering, according to the co-owner of the Russian agricultural equipment firm Rostelsammash, and that's from the Don News Romania. So all the sanctions that have been going on haven't affected any of the engineering equipment for agriculture at all. Citizens of the Russian Federation, this is Stalingrad. Citizens of the Russian Federation can rejoice. The leadership of the G20 countries, including Russia, so they might not have been there but they took part, has agreed on a plan for the introduction of a central bank digital currencies and digital identity cards for the population of their countries. So it's been decided, we get it, that they've decided it through Russia. Who the press representative weren't there. They were, and they've agreed. The fears of the citizens of these countries that governments would use them to monitor the spending of their people and suppress dissent were completely ignored. A final declaration on these issues was adopted in New Delhi, and that's coming from the Stalingrad. Okay? Starting on September the 17th, Poland will ban the entry of passenger cars registered in Russia. That's the RIA Novosti. The Russian Ministry of Health has authorised clinical trials of the Sputnik V and Sputnik M vaccines, with an updated composition for grown-ups and children aged 12 to 17 years. See, they're even using children and adults. Same language. That's coming from TASS. Still think they're really at war at the top? The digital transformation of education will lead to the creation of a caste society in Russia, and that's coming from the Katyusha. Yeah? No different than the same headlines going on in the West, because it's the same gig. China. The corporation. Alexander Neredko, who headed the Federal Air Transport Agency for 14 years, has been replaced by a young deputy. Commerçant claims one reason for his dismissal was the agency's insufficient readiness for the development of the unmanned aerial vehicle industry. That's your drones. So they're not doing right well in the drone area around Rushdie, nor in the air, or to be fair, on the oceans, although they've got a lot of subs. Russia's federal budget deficit decreased to 2.361 trillion rubles in August, down from 2.817 trillion rubles a month earlier. So they've got a big deficit going on. A deficit of about 2.9 trillion rubles, or 2% of GDP, is planned for 2023, but it's only 2% of GDP. So it's doing rather well. An advisor to the acting head of the DPR, Denis Pushygin, described the situation in the regions of Ukraine as a humanitarian catastrophe, stating that Kiev does not care how people live there. Well, that's absolutely true. Trade turnover between Russia and China increased by 32% in 8 months. Ooh. Russia needs to focus on adapting its economy to climate change. Maxim Reshetnikov, head of the Ministry of Economic Development, said the Eastern Economic Forum, EEF, that's coming from the TAS. You get my drift, folks. Yeah? You get my drift, don't you? The international division of Yandex is marketing self-driving cars and vehicle has changed its name from Yandex Self-Driving Group to Avreed. It's all same stuff, no difference. Norway is rebuilding a fence along its border with Russia in the Arctic to stop reindeer from wandering into the neighbouring country. They don't have passports, you see. Oh dear. So Russian lawyers have scored some noteworthy victories against government efforts to digitalise education. So Russian lawyers are trying to stop it. IMF and BIS are building a global concentration camp, codenamed CBDC, Strategic Culture Foundation. It's all there. Now, to keep an eye on what's actually going on in Russia, allow me to give you where are we? Okay, I have to go in here. No, I want that one. So there's your Spanish stuff, which we didn't really need to go into, but let me just put across again. The British settlers came to the new lands for many reasons. Some wanted to make money or set up trade in their own, with their own country, while others wanted religious freedom. In the early 1600s, the British king began establishing colonies in America. By the 1700s, most of the settlements had formed into 13 British colonies. So the America that everybody loves, given the Constitution, is 100% a British-German gig. And it was Connecticut, Delaware, Georgia, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and South Carolina. That's what the Civil War destroyed. The Holy See bunch, the Jesuits, all the systems that Lincoln tells you about, came in and destroyed America. Previous to that, the Spanish had done it. Now, if you want to look at keep in tune with headlines in Russia, I'll put this up under. And each week he goes through, and he calls it "At Least We Have Each Other," where he goes through headlines in nothing but Russia. It's a good way of keeping abreast of what's actually going on, and you can see that there's clearly no difference whatsoever between all the elites at the top end of the tree in all nations. They're all pissing in the same pot and bending over for the same fruitcakes. That's how it's going. Spanish Empire. You see, in 1497, they started in North America. But we just get filled down our neck. It were all going on in South America. No. No, 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 no. Not true. Now, when I'm looking into the 1700s, there's a figure that needs to be understood if you want to understand the secret societies. You need to look into this guy, the Comte de Saint-Germain. Because when you look at his brags and what he were involved in, it's everything that were pulling the Prussian imperial force together, which means the Holy See, Imperial Rome side of things. Okay, this is the guy you need to come to terms with and have a little look, if you're not already aware of it, and look at it in that sense that this guy was, you could say, involved with all the aristocrats, the kings, the queens, all the top people, and he were pretty much influencing a lot of them. Very interesting. But that's how the secret society system pulled itself into what was the kingdoms under the monarchs, under the Vatican. Again, you can see how the Vatican has consistently been undermined as a system by the Holy Roman Empire. Well, it was always going to be that way from the day Charlemagne pulled that together. Now, where am I now? So, I need to come back here. Bang. What else did I want to look at? Back to today. I should have put these in earlier. But again, as I'm saying, at the top, they're all pissing in the same pot. It's only the further down you go, you're starting to fix into these mind maps that they've got everybody on, ready to cause absolute holy hell. Popey doesn't look right chuffed there, so I'd say that's a set piece. Just to make the old trumpet look even terrible. What is going on with the two women there? Like they're going to a funeral. But look at this. This is what's really going on. Does Trump and Hillary look like they hate each other there? These are all autotypes, by the way, in the US who have to pay £3,000 to Catholic charities. They don't all like they hate each other, them do. George Bush, CIA, we know that. Barbara Bush, said to be the daughter of Alistair Crowley. We saw a picture of her the other week with Jimmy Savile. Yep. They're all friends, these people. They're friends. Yep. Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation dinner. The third Thursday, whatever day, in October, every year. Do they look like they don't like each other? They love each other, look. And they love Biden, even though he wants to shag everything going and smell them after he sniffed them. JFK, different kettle of fish. We're a Catholic. Did he obey that guy there on the left? No, he said, no, thank you, this is what we're going to do. Cracked on and got shot. Look. At the top, they're all pissing in the same pot. It's only down at this street level that you're meant to go and think, seriously, you're all enemies and you have to kill each other. So that these people at the top can have the world to themselves. I can't work out who's giving who a medal there. Who's giving the Cub Scout medal? Is George giving it to Pope or is Pope giving it to George? I don't know. A long-standing tradition, Alfred E. Smith Memorial Foundation dinner held the third Thursday of every October. It's a tradition in American presidential politics that marks the last time the two nominees share a stage. Named to the former... you know me. Not the old perfected... Anyway. So that's gone through that again. But yeah, it doesn't look right happy there, doesn't old Popish, does he? Even though it's just a flag. She looks like she's going to a funeral. And yeah. But anyway, you get the picture, don't you? You get the picture there, folks. As to what it's all about, what's going down, and it's all a load of old malarkey. You know, but yet you can see all these regimes setting up. Ready, I'm going to kill you. We're going to hunt down Jewish blood, they said. You know, and PC Plod stands there going, well, it's being fomented. It's being promulgated to happen. It's a script they want you to jump on. Doesn't matter what religion you are. Well, you're holding onto the map that they programmed from the day you were born onto the earth. And then Armageddon is round the corner. Make no mistake about it. Now then, back to you lot. Because I've pretty much done the gig. Now we can have a chinwag. So you guys having a fallout, are you? Is somebody having a fallout? There is those who see, those who when shown, and those who don't see. Yep. Every comment is sharing for the crew. Okay, so you're all falling out. Well, that's good. We like a bit of a fallout. We don't mind a bit of a fallout at all. Sometimes it just brighten up the old chat. So Husky, are you getting excited, Husky? Okay. So I can't want to be commenting on your falling outs. Alright? Because I'm just fantastic and amazing. Remember my pronouns. I can't be joining in. Anyway, I hope you're all right. Are you all happy? All in the same club, says June, acting as mum. June, just tell them all to behave themselves or they're going to get a bum smack and they're grounded. I think we need of a mother on there just to bring everything right. Just like the political party has been chosen and its Labour Keir Starmer has already been chosen. Again, let me get this into your minds. No money. Only a thorny isle, let's say. Okay? Are you to tighten up there in Aggie Squeezer land wearing a skirt, hunting down and shagging Aggies? Right? That's what they do. You've got Privy Council. Okay, Rob B. When I met him down in Derby, he had a lot to say. Rob and I knew Rob did his own work. So when Rob said to me he found that the Privy Council acts for the absent king, it made sense to me, and I held that in the back of my mind, and I've always looked for data that would support it. Privy Council and the Cabinet have a direct connection. Yep, the Cabinet was in theory nothing but a committee of the Privy Council. Yet, with the Privy Council, the Cabinet, has in reality no dealings, and thus the extra, because it's secret. and thus the extraordinary results taking place, that the government of England is in the hands of men whose position is legally undefined, because they're in the private. Yeah, we're talking temple crown here. That while the cabinet is a word of everyday use, no lawyer can say what a cabinet is. Lawyer, equity, chancery. Above is barrister, private, unincorporated. They know exactly what it is. But no lawyer can say what a cabinet is. But we know the cabinet is what runs Parliament through the whip system. You don't agree with the cabinet, you're kicked out. Even though you voted them in with your power of attorney to act for you in Parliament. This is how bizarre it's got. Under the watch of the baby boomer. Passed on to the Gen X. Passed on to all the whatever else has come after that. And then the schools took over in 97 and completely annihilated your offspring. Turned them into emotional wrecks. You know? This is what's happened. The cabinet runs the show, which means everybody in every political party has been put there with the intent to have them in the cabinet. The rest of the politicians, the MPs, are knowing they're not been put in there by them. Well, they have at local level, even you could say. But what I'm saying is the Privy Council or the private side of the Crown only needs to ensure it has enough people in to cover every government department's office as its own man or woman. The cabinet. So no matter who gets in, the cabinet's going to be made up of people chosen by this private group, the Crown Temple. Yeah? Does that make sense to you? Is it starting to really get in there what's actually happening? So, Moo says he's going to say good night. Spent time in hospital last week, back there tomorrow. Well, I hope you're alright with old China, and I'll be seeing you. Liver clouds on the cards. Gone? What do you mean? Just, well, we'll talk about it. Husky says legal jurisdiction, but okay, blah blah blah. Or you got falling out. Untitled gives it the thumbs up. Right, well, I hope you've been chin-wagging, and I hope you've learned something from your chin-wagging of your own, because you can always come back and listen to what I were having on about after if you so choose. Paul says, correct, June. Yeah, Michael Jr. All piss in the same pot. Just look at the BlackRock and Vanguard. Jay says, no one got the naughty corner. All good. Ooh, well, that's got to be good. So it's sensible falling out. We don't mind a bit of sensible falling out. And we are civilised. You know, remember, we're a civilised nation. There's civilised people. We don't need to be falling out and calling each other names. Unless I have a mental breakdown at some point or get cross. And then sometimes it can happen and I can lose the plot slightly. And I know you love it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And edit is a great thing. You can edit the old thing and get rid of it. So no, everybody just continues to think that I'm fantastic and amazing. So, no one got the doors going yet. June says, Mew Pete, sorry to hear that. My hubby has had the gallbladder removed a month ago. So much better now. No sickness. Hope you get sorted out. Well, we all do, yes. We're all grown-ups here. Yes. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, leaves me only one thing to say. Have a good week. Remember, before the autumn equinox, there's 3 Ember days. So 3 days before the 23rd. So by the end of the 19th, you want to be starting to settle down in those Ember days in readiness for the crossing. On the 23rd, I think it's 6:50 AM here in the UK. Not UK. On Blighty. See, even I'm forgetting to use the right terms. So 3 days, give yourself them 3 days to relax. And be very careful whom you're around in those 3 days, that you don't pick up the energies and pull it with you as you cross over into the autumn equinox. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will say thanks for joining. Thanks for taking part, falling out or not. I still love you. And I'll say, till the next time.
electronic engineering, electronic engineering.